All right. Hello. Thank you guys for joining us today. I want to introduce my friend and partner here, Dr. Shawn Talbott. Welcome, and thanks for spending some time with me today on this beautiful summer Monday.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks, Don.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. So you guys read my post from earlier. I wanted to have my friend Dr. Shawn Talbott on today to talk about the student athlete and how can we take a look at and have a discussion about helping them manage stress in the classroom and on the field or on the court, and how to sort of balance all of that. So I know a lot of people were excited about this topic. Hi, Sandy. Thanks for hopping on today. Before we get into it, let me just give a shout out to like I said, my friend and partner, Dr. Shawn Talbott. He is the Chief Science Officer at the company that I'm partnered with, Amare Global. He has degrees in sports medicine, fitness management, exercise science, and nutritional biochemistry, which I'm all totally geeking out for all of those things. I think that's amazing. And, when Dr. Shawn speaks, I drop everything and listen, because these are all topics that I'm passionate about too. And I know that you guys are as well. But I want to say too, your biggest credential, I would say, for being on this interview with me today is that you are also an elite athlete and a dad of students and student athletes. So, as well as being an author and being on television news shows about certain topics, what I wanted to bring you on here today was to talk about student athletes balancing, games and homework and life and, adolescence, probably a little bit of that. When we have now this culture of winning is everything, right? We have sort of a culture of, parents strongly advocating for their kids in games, right? I've been that mom.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been that mom. I'll admit it. So welcome and good morning. Anything you want to start off with?
Yeah. Well, I'll start off with the fact that I just sent off my high school senior, my last of our children, is going to be finishing high school his last year right now, and he took his Amare supplements on his own before he went out the door this morning, which was great. Awesome. And it's not so much like we were chit chatting a little bit before we started sort of rolling. It's not necessarily like we know that gut health and gut brain axis and brain blood flow and all that kind of stuff can help on the student side, right? It can help with focus. It can help with speed of processing in the brain. It can help with memory, like all the school stuff. And we know on the athlete side that we can help with motivation and recovery and inflammation and like the performance side. But like in the middle is that student athlete piece where you want a little bit of both of those. And I think the piece that people need to focus on is it's not so much lowering stress, and it's not so much like amping up performance, but what that middle piece is really about resilience. And resilience is this idea of like when that student or when anybody is encounters something that stresses them out. If your stress resilience is low, you're going to see that situation, you're going to go, oh my gosh, I can't deal with this. Or you're going to choke, or you're going to bail, or you have bad performance, on the test or on the race. So if your stress resilience is low, that's a bad thing. If you get your stress resilience to be higher, the difference is instead of kind of stepping away and saying, I can't deal with this right now, you're going to step into it and sort of rise to the occasion of that stress. And that's the coolest thing, because that applies in the classroom, it applies in social settings, it applies on the field. It's like that. If you can get that stress resilience, that's going to permeate all aspects of your life. And that's exactly what this gut-brain axis phenomenon will really deliver to people.
Well, I've really seen that with my own 13, almost 14-year-olds going into 8th grader this year, with the stress of that, like now junior high homework, a little bit higher expectations. Testing is like, again, front and center in school systems and public schools these days anyway. In our experience, testing is a big deal. Kids have a lot of stress about, getting to school, showing up, doing the work, getting, the A that they're putting on themselves. And in sports, we tend to be worried about, ACL tears, shoulder injuries, concussions, which we should be worried about, joint injuries, that kind of thing. But we don't often, in my experience, address the sort of the mental fitness of the athlete and how can we support that. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, with athletes, and whether we're talking about elite level athletes, college level athletes, high school level athletes, even just the peewees, right? Mental performance is the hottest area in sport nutrition these days. Like I did a webinar last week for a bunch of former NFL players, right? And so they're looking at it from the perspective of, hey, wait a minute, we're done with the high performing athlete thing. We're going into the next part of our careers. How can we improve our mental fitness? But a lot of what we ended up talking about was in elite level athletes, it's all about getting the mental piece to deliver the most out of your physicality, right? It's not so much about like, getting bigger muscles or running faster, jumping higher. Like everybody sort of knows that stuff. Where the edge is that people haven't sort of caught on to yet is the mental side of that. And if you can get the mental side, like I said before, it's going to give you the physical piece and the mental piece and that middle piece, which is sort of a little bit of both. There's not a lot of difference between like, what the jock needs and what the math team guy needs, right? And I say that as the person who's been on both of those teams. I've been on the math team and I've been, at the elite level, and it's the same stuff that you want to get. If you can get that, it's gonna be beneficial.
Well, let me ask you about this. So when we do focus, if we let me ask it in this way: if we don't focus on that mental fitness, that stress resiliency, would you say our student athletes are more at risk for injury?
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. And the reason for that is because you could be more at risk for injury because you're not focusing. A lot of what the studies show is that the athletes that do get hurt or do get sick, it's because they've got issues with their immune system. They get issues with with being overinflamed. Their inflammatory cascade is out of balance, and those two things they're directly linked to the physical risk of getting hurt or getting sick, but they're also linked to the psychological piece of, are you motivated? Are you focused? Are you in a good mood? Are you able to bounce back from setbacks? And that's another way of describing resilience. When you fall down, can you bounce right back up? Either physically or metaphorically. Like that idea of being able to sort of come back and get back into the flow. That's a huge piece of what we need. And so that's where the linkage between physical and mental really is. It's partly gut health, it's partly inflammation, it's partly immune system. And if you can get all of that sort of humming, then you're gonna benefit on both sides, the physical and the mental.
Yeah. So I was a kid who grew up on the Little League field. Like my parents were coaches, my brother played, like we were just down the field every night. It was just what you did. And I don't actually remember kids having like so many wrist injuries, ACL tears, all these things. And now, as soon as they get one, they're in the orthopedics office, and then they're having surgery a week later, and then they're back on the, get ready for the next season. So we're around the same age, Dr. Shawn. Have you seen a shift in sort of like what because we can fix these joint injuries, we do, and now we're putting kids, and what is the effect on that child? Like, this 11, 13, 15-year-old going, oh, they got to get me back out for next season. They got to get me on for the next game. Like, what are the effects that child is having?
Yeah, I've seen that with a lot of my friends' kids. There's been a shift over the last few years. Like back when we were kids, Don, there was this idea of you'd play baseball, you'd play soccer, you'd play hockey, you'd play football, you'd play basketball. Like you'd do a little bit of everything. And it shifted from those days. It sounds like a long time ago. The pendulum shifted the whole other way, where kids have been sort of pushed to specialize too much, right? So now instead of playing all those sports through all the different seasons, now you've got summer soccer, and you've got spring soccer, and you've got fall soccer, and you've got the traveling team, and you've got the school team, and you've got the it's too much specificity. And coaches, like sort of top level coaches, are now starting to educate people and saying, look, we probably don't need that much specificity, because it burns the kids out psychologically, and it puts them at higher risk for injury because they're using the same muscle groups all the time, and they're not getting that sort of complementary training psychologically, physically. And so that's one thing that parents can do, is encourage their kids to do lots of different things. In fact, it's a really cool survey done a couple of years ago looking at some of the very top level athletes in baseball, in football, in basketball, the top three professional sports. And the people who were at the top did not specialize along the way. They played lots of different sports as they were growing up. And the theory is that it encouraged a more well-rounded physically and psychologically kind of an athlete to go forward and excel. So anyway, aside from that, if kids are getting pushed all the time, they're going to get burned out. And you don't want to have a burned out 12-year-old, because that's throughout their entire life.
You sure do not want to have a burnt out 12-year-old. Trust me. I think that's such a great point. I hadn't thought of it that way, that we used to play all the sports. Like, what's new this season? What are we going to do this season? Now it's like summer basketball and fall basketball and winter basketball and spring, and it is like that sort of one specificity. I know I come from a big hockey town. Kids are playing hockey, when they first learn how to walk around here. And our town is great, and it's a big prideful thing. But how is that like taking away from what other things that student can achieve, I think is what I think.
Yeah, and I don't want to tell people to not put their kids in sports. That's not the message at all.
That is not the message here. No,
it's part of who they are, right? There's the sports piece, there's the student piece, there's the good friend piece, there's the part of the family piece, there's what your hobbies and interests are piece, like that sort of well-roundedness. That also helps with stress resilience, right? So there's ways we can come at this from nutrition. There's ways we can come at it from the activities that we do, from the that well-roundedness, I think, helps with bolster up that stress resilience. That's
really the point I wanted to make too, because I knew once I became a mother, like my kid was going to play sports, and I just knew that because I think that's part of being a well-rounded person, and especially team sports, because you really learn negotiation and socialization, and you learn how to sit on the bench and root for your friends who got to play in first, right? You learn lots of things. Lots of stressful situations come up when you're in a team sport and individual, but I do think that was a non-negotiable. Just like some parents are like, well, you're going to college. My kid was like, you're going to play sports. But I do think we have to balance, right? Because there is this like.
Yeah, you totally have to balance. And I'm gonna use my son as a very recent personal example. So he's on the cross country team at his high school. He's sort of a middle of the pack runner, right? Which is great. He does it. He loves it. He's in a great mood after he runs. All the things that you get from exercise, he loves it. He had a really bad lung infection this summer, and so he was coughing all the time. And so now the season is starting. He is uber frustrated that he's not at the level at this point of the year that he was at this point of the year last year, right? So he's completely frustrated. They had an invitational cross-country meet last week. It was blazing hot here in Utah, and he had a terrible performance, but he went into it going, hey, I'm not at my best. I'm going to do as well as I can. He had a coughing fit out on the field. And at the end of it, I was like, ew, how you doing? Are you okay? And it wasn't like he had blown it off, but he goes, well, I did what I could do. I was here. I came to support the team. I didn't contribute any points this time. Maybe I will next time. Like that. I was so proud of him. Yep, this is what I'm able to do right now, but I'm here to support everybody else, That is 100%
the child everyone wants to raise, right? Like, I went out there, I did my best. Like, I'm going to try again next time. Like, that is the child we want to raise, not the kid that throws away their sneakers when they get home, right? Because they didn't get first, second, or third. So Dr. Shawn, let's transition a little bit into the nutrition, because that's really your thing. And tell us, my audience has heard me talk about this gut-brain axis, the microbiome, like how important it is for not only stress resiliency, but immunity, inflammation, lots of hormones, lots of things. So how can this help our student athletes with that balance?
Yeah, this is really a very much a new paradigm in science, right? So all the stuff we just talked about, at one point we used to think they were just brain issues, and so we would think of all kinds of ways we could feed the brain, right? We can give you omega-3s, we could have you eat brightly colored fruits and vegetables, we could have you do all that kind of stuff. Still awesome things to do. Then the science evolved a little bit, and we thought, maybe instead of focusing just on the brain, we could look at affecting immune system directly, or affecting inflammation directly. And there's things we can do there. We can give you pine bark extract. We can give you turmeric. We can give you all kinds of things to affect what we call the axis these days. Yep. But now the science has shifted to look at the gut and say, wait a minute, a lot of what's happening here in the immune system and the inflammatory cascade, and a lot of what's happening here in the brain in terms of our motivation, our resilience, and our stress levels, and our focus, and things like that are actually coming from the gut. A lot of those signals are first of all generated by the bacteria in the gut. So this is just the science evolving from being a brain thing and being a body thing, and now really it's a biome thing where we say, if we can get the bacteria right, then we're going to get the right signals. That's going to make our inflammation lower. It's going to make our immune system stronger. It's going to make our brain function quicker and in a more relaxed manner. You know, sort of get you into that flow state. Runners, you know, the runner's high, or the zone, or whatever you want to call it, right? So that's why we focus so much on the gut now, because it's the new frontier of science of physical performance and mental performance.
Would you say this is like the biggest breakthrough of our time, like really connecting the gut to the brain and what we're finding out, how much control it has?
I would say without exaggeration or without overstatement, you know, myself as a scientist who's been doing this for 20 years, this is the biggest scientific breakthrough of certainly of my lifetime. You know, and I think, you know, if you look at how it's changing, literally every aspect of what we think about what is human health, the fact that, you know, we're alive in this time, and it's new research, and we can say, wait a minute, let me try that. Let me plug that into my own life. That is an astonishing thing that doesn't happen very often.
I've had people ask me, well, is this just the next trend? And I'm like, it might be, but it's freaking awesome. Like, it should be the next trend. Like, this is not only the next trend, but the biggest breakthrough. And you know, we've talked about this before, the next 10, 20 years of medicine, of healthcare, of wellness is going to tie in this microbiome motherboard to your body, right?
And I think there's it certainly is trendy right now because it's new, and lots of people are starting to talk about it, and it's exciting because it actually works. But I wouldn't say that it's a trend, right? And meaning, I don't think it's like, you know, the new Atkins diet that's going to have and it's going to go away, because what we're seeing is, you know, all the pharmaceutical companies are looking at this area. The research studies that are coming out are really fundamentally changing how we think about mental wellness, how we think of what I sometimes call mental fitness. The idea of getting someone who's depressed to feel normal again, that's about mental health. The idea of getting someone who just feels kind of okay to feel amazing, that's mental wellness. And then the idea of getting someone to really optimize themselves so they can just kill it every day, that's like mental fitness. And all of that is this gut-brain axis. And so it's something that's going to be a new field for the coming decades.
And what you just described, we're all on this continuum somewhere, and at different periods of our life, we've been at different areas of this continuum. And I will say, what got me a year ago when I partnered with this company is you saying, if we can help people who feel bad feel average, we can help people feel average feel amazing. And I was like, bingo, that is what I needed to hear, because that's really my mission and my goal is we don't like this average, this acceptable state that we're living in doesn't have to be this way. And just to wrap it up, Dr. Shawn, like so the company we're partnered with, Amari Global, tell us a little bit about what can we offer. What can the products and platform we have offer these student athletes and also the parents? Because parents, you know, I'll say it myself, when the game is tied up and there's 30 seconds on the clock, you know, I'm standing up shouting, you know. So what can kind of help the whole family resiliency, and what do we have to offer?
Yeah, well, you know, we've got a full line of products, right? We've got 23 products in our product line right now that all work on mental wellness in one way, shape, or form. Sometimes they work in the brain. Sometimes they work on this axis piece in between, immune system and inflammation and things like that. A lot of them work on the gut, the microbiome. So we're the only company in the world that really has a full suite of products that, in a comprehensive way, you optimize that gut-brain axis, right? So there's the aspect of people saying, oh, I know I need to do my gut, or I know I need to do my immune system. Right. But most people have no idea. They just know they feel kind of blah. If you someone from feeling blah to feeling amazing with this line of products that you can really customize and say, all right, let me do the gut-brain axis, and then let me focus on getting better sleep. Let me focus on more energy. Let me focus on better mood. Like we have the ability to customize no matter where you want to go on that continuum.
I think that's one thing I learned too, is that we have these symptoms in different areas of our body, you know, whatever they are, either digestive, inflammation, aches and pains, whatever. But when you tighten up or treat or optimize is the best word, I guess, the gut-brain axis, the gut-brain relationship, those other things may go away. So that might not actually be the problem. And that's one thing that I learned, like, you know, maybe these aches and pains, or maybe this digestive issue isn't necessarily what I think it is. So when I walk into Walgreens and there's an aisle full of a probiotic or an aisle full of an anti-inflammatory, like, how do you know which one to choose? And so what we have is something that is kind of it's kind of specific, but it's also full range. I don't know if I'm saying that accurately, but looking at the gut-brain axis can solve a lot of other problems.
Yeah, exactly. So our line is very specific to the gut-brain axis, optimizing that. Because we choose specific strains of probiotic bacteria, we choose specific structures of fiber, we choose specific extracts of plants, phytonutrients, and we do that to improve the mental wellness quickly. So lower tension, better stress resilience, better mood, all that kind of stuff. But as a result of that, you all see these physical health changes. So, aches and pains are going away, and little, aching things that haven't healed are starting to heal. Skin tone is better, and things that are really physical changes come because of the mental wellness changes. They're all sort of biochemically. So
this has been amazing. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. We went a little longer than I told you we would, but I think that was cool. If you guys want to hear more about what Dr. Shawn is working on, you can go to his blog, doctalbott.com, right? That's still active? doctalbott.com. Yep. And Dr. Shawn will be in the Boston area in October. We're working out the final details for that. But if you guys live near me in the Boston area, you can actually see him in person. And if anything else we can direct people to,
yeah, I think, people can get information at amari.com. There's lots of videos and lots of science information if you're so inclined. But or reach out directly to Dawn. She can hook you up.
Awesome. Hey, thanks so much for your time. I will see you in a couple of weeks in California. I'm really looking forward to that event. And
look forward to it.
Yeah, I'll see you soon. Thanks, guys. Have a great day, everyone.